2 monsters remain, but I've got my eyes set on you, Arc-Tempered Velkhana. Hey. Welcome back to another Monster Hunter Journal, where I continue my journey of killing every monster in Monster Hunter World and Iceborne. There are only 2 left, Arc-Tempered Velkhana and Fatalis. I have decided to finish Arc-Tempered Velkhana first before Fatalis. Now, before we get into our usual journal kind of style, I just want to be upfront and say this story, this journal specifically, and this journey, there's so much more than just the video game here. There is a whole emotional transformation and experience happening, and I'm going to tell you about that. So we're going to focus a lot on the last stream, specifically me trying to hunt Arc-Tempered Velkhana. I did not succeed, but a lot of stuff happened up here. Things clicked, and I am discovering some very interesting insights about myself through a video game, which is quite interesting. So I have to admit that ever since I've killed Alatreon, I've been kind of scared of Fatalis and Arc-Tempered Velkhana, and there's something in my head that's been like, you cannot kill these monsters until you have like X equipment and everything. And I was kind of like trying to get everything else and farm everything, so I was at my best state to face these monsters, because to me, like, they are the end game. They are the end game. They're the final wall. So I'm like, the only way to get through the final wall is to have all the final gear. And as I came back from vacation, there's just something that hit me that went, you know what? When I went up against Alatreon, I said, let's go see what happens. And something decided that I'm like, I'm going to keep trying with what I have. Even though at that time, the unanimous feedback I got was, I am not ready for Alatreon. I don't have what I need to kill it. And after 3 weeks of pounding my head against it, I killed it with that very same armor and loadout. So I was like, what happened to that guy? Go back, get that confidence, stop like brainstorming, not brainstorming, stop telling yourself that you can't do it and all this stuff. And I'm just like, you know what? You're right. My stuff, this is my game. And a lot of you, there's been like a whole Divine Blessing chapter that came out of the last journal where I'm like, I'm not going to use Divine Blessing. And then a lot of you actually made me realize I made that pledge based on probably some very negative, bad feedback. And so we're going to have another conversation around Divine Blessing, but that's not for today. So yeah, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try Arc-Tempered Velkhana. Seriously. Like, I'm going to have a serious, let's put every skill I've learned in this game to the test, give it my best shot. And I'm not it's going to take me a few streams, but let's see if I can kill this dragon. It's a video game. It's meant to be killed. And I have to say, this is the first time I was able to make a build on stream in front of everyone with like all these eyes watching and be comfortable with just going through the menus and being like, I'm going to pick this armor. I'm going to pick these decorations. I have to admit, even though I'm 200 hours in, I've never been comfortable doing a build, especially online. I never even did one offline because I always feel like this chat knows best. And I'm always kind of like second guessing myself and looking at chat of like, should I put this one? Should I put this one? And then getting mixed results. But this time I just went like, heck, I know what I'm doing. I've played this for a while. So I started with, I want Divine Blessing. For Arc-Tempered Velkhana, I know that it hits hard. I've seen it in, I tried it a few weeks ago. So I'm like, I need my Divine Blessing. So right there, I need my gold Rathian chest, my gold Rathian waist, and then I just have to figure out what the other 3 slots are. So I'm like, I could go with Master's Touch, but I don't like how many decorations I have. And so I looked at a bit of my armor, and I ended up picking it based on how many decoration slots I had and the skills that were available. And I can't quite remember what I ended up with. I think I ended up with 2 pieces of Saphi because I did not have the 3rd piece that aligned with the Golden Rathian. And I think I went with 1 piece of, I think I went with anyways, I'm sure the editor has whatever I'm trying to say on screen to show you guys what armor I ended up using. So from there, I actually took a paper on stream and I started writing down all my offensive skills and all the defensive skills that I would want in an ideal build. And so and this all happened from a lot of your feedback on Divine Blessing, making me realize Divine Blessing is a defensive skill. And that made me go like, oh right, Monster Hunter has 2 types of skills, offensive, defensive, and you have to kind of balance the 2. That's the trade-off. So I wrote down the skills I wanted. So in attack, I wanted weakness exploit, critical boost, agitator, critical eye. If I could slot in attack, great, but we're not there. Oh, and fortify. And then for my defensive, I wrote down, I need health boost, ice resist, and or blight resist. What was it? I learned that I could not get my ice resist above 20, because if I could, then I could get away without having blight resist. I did not. My ice resist was like 17, so I'm like, okay, we are not going to focus on ice resist. We're going to slot in blight resist. And then evade window and evade extender. So once I had that, I actually made a table of how many four slot decorations, 2 slot decorations, 1 slot decoration I had for each skill. See, the whole table's right here. And this was all done on stream. And then based on this, I completely got rid of all my decorations from all of my equipment. I was like, what can we slot in to make the best build out of what I have? And so through this exercise, I learned I have no critical boost decorations. So I only had the one from some of my gear. So I'm like, okay, well, that's the only critical boost I'm going to get. And then anyways, through kind of mixing and matching everything, I ended up with what is, I would say, one of my cleanest builds I have ever done. And I feel really proud of this build because I did it myself. I did not really research anything. I just looked at what I had, what I wanted, and I put together the best that I could. And that experience was such a clicking moment. And I feel that is an important part in a hunter's journey in this game. And I finally hit it. It's 200 plus hours, but I'm like, I get it. I understand now the fun of slotting in your decorations and figuring out your build and having the pride of doing it yourself. So yay for me. We're back to learning. So after all is said and done, I ended up with weakness exploit at level 3. Critical boost, we only had 1 because I had no decorations. Agitator, I put in all the leftovers into that, which ended up being, I think, 2 or 3. It wasn't that great. Critical Eye, I think I ended up with a maxed out Critical Eye thanks to Master's Charm. That was another fun thing. So I think it was my Master's Charm was under leveled. And so I'm like, I can level up Master's Charm to get to open up another decoration slot so we can slot something in. And so I went to do that, and just trying to optimize that way, it just felt really exciting. And then on the defense skill, of course, we got our level 5 Divine Blessing. I got a level 3 health boost. We got our Blight Resist all the way to level 3. We got the full evade window. I think I got 1 evade extender. And of course, we got our Fortify. So that was a big moment for my stream. Just doing that. On the axe front, I was using the Alatreon axe a lot. And I don't know why, but I think I learned Arc-Tempered Velkhana is weaker. I don't know if it's weak to Blast, but either way, Blast does more damage, so I decided to go with the Raging Brachydios axe just to do more damage. So with all of that, I went in and I gave it my best shot, Arc-Tempered Velkhana. And I must have fought it for 2-3 hours, and I lost every time. But what happened is the exact same thing that happened with Alatreon. As I was fighting, I was learning its moveset. And this evade extender, or evade window specifically, oh my goodness, it lets me roll through all of its attack. You got the ice beam, roll through it. You do the ice walls, roll through it. You do the ice donut, roll through it. There's so much more forgiveness. And then of course the Divine Blessing, so much forgiveness. I'm really learning how to position myself through these attacks to create an opening to then punish it. And so the fight is starting to feel a lot more manageable. And through just repetition and practicing, I have to get that muscle memory of, okay, it's doing this, I need to react like this. Very similar to Alatreon. And it's clicking more and more, and I'm already feeling confident enough that I just need to practice now. Once I practice enough, it's going to happen. Now, I haven't made it to the 30-minute point in the timer. I know the timer is going to be another issue. I'm a little bit worried about my damage output not being high enough, but right now it's learning its attack, learning how to dodge and avoid it. And once I'm good at doing that, then I can focus on increasing my damage output so I can actually kill it within 30 minutes. So that's what I pretty much did in the last stream. Once the stream went off, I actually went out and looked at some tips from, from Rurikon. And he brought up a good point about using Dragon Seal. So he said a lot of good points, but one key takeaway was he suggested using a weapon with, I think it's called, Elder Seal, a high Elder Seal specifically. And he states that it shaved off 6 to 7 minutes of his hunt. So I was like, all right, maybe it's time I explore this. I tried with Alatreon, but it's not a high Elder Seal. I think it's a low. So I did some research. I found that the Nergigante Switch Axe has Elder Seal, and its stats seem decent. So now what I've been doing off screen, which is something I don't do very often, is I've actually been farming the Nergigante parts. So I have his switch axe, which has like 1,000 attack and has the high Elder Seal, which I'm going to bring into my Arc-Tempered Velkhana fight next time. So I'm really excited to try to fight Arc-Tempered Velkhana with this switch axe, with the build I have. I've already put kind of the challenge out to the community very loosely that, hey, can you guys kill Arc-Tempered Velkhana with my build? Go for it. And some people have already done it. So I'm like, this is doable. I'm going to even improve my performance with a better switch axe. I'm going to practice, and I think I can kill Arc-Tempered Velkhana within the next week or two. So like, I am just brimming with newfound confidence. I'm so excited to kill this, because then that means I can kill Fatalis as my final monster afterwards and just focus on that and get like our epic poetic conclusion to this whole series. And even now, someone already joked like, you should do a whole playthrough again with the insect glaive, which is the weapon I dislike the most. And I'm actually like, you know what? That would probably be a really interesting thing to try. It'd be a whole different like gameplay. So now I'm already getting into the weeds of maybe I should, like, once I'm done Fatalis and all, maybe I should try fighting every monster again with like every weapon. I'm not pledging that, but I'm already seeing the appeal of replaying a lot of the game with a new weapon just to get a different experience. So I can see how all of you have spent hundreds and even thousands of hours into this game. It's the game that just keeps on giving. And I just keep getting pulled more and more where I'm like, I have to stop this so I can start Generations U or 4 or play these other games that I said I would play. But Monster Hunter World just keeps pulling me in because it's so good. It's so good. It's so satisfying. Like, I really love what this game has to offer. And it's so hard to convey to someone who doesn't get it. As someone who didn't get it, like, I wish it was clearer so that people could get it. But that's, I think, part of the experience is you have to fall into it yourself. So either way, glad I'm here. We're going to kill Arc-Tempered Velkhana, and I'll see you on the next journal. Until then, keep it classy.